Yo, 1 2 1 2. Merlin Santana, one of the people that once you see him, you don't understand what's going on. I only knew of Merlin Santana when they moved the Steve Harvey show to the lot they went from Orlando to California. So everybody was all on one lot in California. They brought Nick Kale show, Nickelodeon. They used to film in Orlando. Now they filming in Cali. And they got this lot where all like the shows are. And it's like at Universal, they like the theme park or whatever. Universal Studios. So why they got the studios there or whatever, they got all of these different, like right next door is this show, right next, it's like a school, right? You go to the next one, there's a whole nother set, this one's another set, that's another set. And they filming like all the black shows, the UPN shows over there. So this is why I told you guys saw Kel on Steve Harvey show, because they're on the same set. So they wanted to branch out. They're like, hey, we'll love for some of you guys to do a cross brand, cross promotion, bring some of your characters, on our show. Y'all be visiting our school and like a school trip or something. You guys can come join our show or play a character that just comes to our school. Kenan and Kel is who they really wanted, but then they start bringing other characters that was on all that to the show. Now, Merlin Santana. Now, from what I heard in the entertainment industry, like when he got in, he wasn't one of those people that was touched as a kid. Like it was him and his mom, and he came in, he got to the Cosby Show. So he was so good in the commercials, and they was just like, this kid's got the look, he got the eyes. Right? So around the early 90s, he even got his own talk show with the guy that played Bud. I think his name was Dion. And they had a TV show together after the Cosby Show, because people loved that episode when they were competing for Rudy's affection. And they saw how charismatic Merlin Santana was. And he met up with, he was doing this movie, and the big child star at this time was was a guy named Brandon that played from People Under the Stairs. He played Michael Jackson. He was in The Sandlot. He was the one black kid actor that crossed over into Hollywood and was telling them like, yo, you gotta, he was telling them when they had met him like, man, you gotta go to California. It's not too many opportunities in New York. You need to come to Cali. So while he's telling them you need to come to Cali, everybody who's around him, like his parents, he really had nobody. He just took a chance because he's like, man, the hell with this, man. I need to go to Cali. Like he really was on that. Like, I gotta get there. I gotta, get these opportunities, these auditions for the shows. They're all in Cali. So New York is on bullshit. Because after the Cosby Show, and they weren't filming in New York like that. And if it was white shows. And he couldn't get any love. Like, he had auditioned for roles, and it was for people who was bilingual. He was bilingual. And he read for the Dominican character. They said, well, you're not Dominican enough to be that. And he's like, I speak better Dominican than the guy that you hired. So he was very pissed off about that. So when he came to Cali, it was a really big thing for him. He was out there on his own. He came out there ready. Like, I'm finna do it. I'm here to do the job. And at that time, Merlin wasn't somebody who was, I would say, on drugs at that time. He was just on a natural kick all the time to go for it. And then he auditioned. He got out there. He was hanging out with Brandon. Brandon was on Moesha. He was dating Brandy at the time. So that was Brandy's boyfriend. And I think he was on the show, too, as an actor, as her boyfriend, as one of them. You know, she was a little hoe on the show. And while they were hanging out, and he's doing Moesha and all that stuff, you know, Brandon is, Merlin got the job for Steve Harvey. They're doing the Steve Harvey show. Now, while they're on the Steve Harvey show, because they used to do Hanging with Mr. Cooper, he was on guest appearances on a lot of shows, you know, get him paid, what have you. There's a lot of auditions in California. You get paid, some people get paid for the auditions. He had an agent, you know, so he was getting paid for his auditions. And sometimes he was hired for all these different things, and his name would come up a lot. But he started hanging with, I think, Omar Good and them people. And he hung out in their hood, and things started getting crazy. Now, at this time, Tupac was blowing up. You know, Tupac was doing his thing. And when the Steve Harvey show had just hit, Tupac is dead. You know, it's like crazy. And he was a huge Tupac fan. Like, he loved Pac music because the girls used to think he reminded them of Tupac. So this used to be his end. You know, he used to have a lot of hair, but he had basically, it's like, F that. He kept his hair low. So, when Pac died, he was like, damn. You know, like, but it was like he was playing the Pac character a lot. You know, like he was reinventing himself to be like Pac. You know, like living life to the fullest. And you start to see that as he changed on the show. As the show was popular, it was taking off, then Biggie died from New York, and he's from New York. You know, so he was like, damn, I'm from New York. I'm in Cali, just like Pac came from New York to Cali. Now everybody who come out from New York died. That didn't make no sense. Now, he got into it with Fredro people, you know, Fredro Starr, because of him and Brandy, you know, whatever. And this was really had nothing to do with Merlin. Merlin jumped in a situation that really had nothing to do with him. You know, like, it was really Brandon, his best friend, and his homeboy, the actor, the one I told you from People Under the Stairs. And this is when Merlin started to go off the rails. And his attempt to be like Pac, he started smoking weed and, you know, doing a little drugs. But he was always on edge. But once he got into the California life, that's when it went crazy. Now, Brandon, who I was heard that he was one of the people, just like Orlando, was molested as a kid when he was young in the business. When he first got into the business, he was pushed along. So he was pretty much one of those people who was using drugs to escape the memories of that shit. Now, Brandon and Merlin linked up. And it was, this is Road Dogg. They go out, they do drugs, they get into shit, getting in shootouts. Like, Merlin had a Desert Eagle 5.0, and he was on 10. So he wanted to get twins, but the police had to come confiscate it because he got in a shootout at Fatburgers. Now, good thing he didn't get hurt, but people knew that Merlin was kind of crazy. He was going crazy towards the end of the Steve Harvey show. A lot of people didn't like him. Steve tried to work with him because he was so popular on the show. They was like, man, if we, you know, don't do some episodes with him, that could tank the show because everybody's tuning in to see Romeo. They want to see this Romeo character. But he's like, I think we need to give him some days off, because, he's all messed up. So, Merlin was just crazy at one point. He was going 100 miles an hour, like he wouldn't stop. Then he had this thing like, I'm gonna get on this kick. Like, yeah. I was talking to this producer, and this was 1998. I think it was 98. And they were talking about doing a Tupac like biography back in 98. And he was so jacked over that. They're saying, I'm the lead, like I'm finna play Tupac. Man, I knew this is destiny. I was destined to play this role. This gonna be the biggest thing ever. They talking about an Oscar. I'm finna play Tupac. So he was really excited, and this is why he's doing the Steve Harvey show. So while he's doing the Steve Harvey show and all of this, right? And he doing his thing and making some decent money, a working actor. He got all this stuff doing it. He working on some little movies they doing here and there. He goes ahead and start hitting the weights. He started bulking up because people say, yeah, you a little too skinny. Now we need you to have some mass, So he started working out like crazy, like taking steroids and all kind of shit. And that steroid shit was going to his head. Because he was like, I'm going to be the leading man. They was like, after this Pac role, I'm going to be like Wesley Snipes. So Wesley Snipes was huge at the time for the people who don't know. So Brandon, at this time, his career has turned to shit. Because he's done so many drugs, people can't trust him. He almost fucked up Brandy's career because she was doing drugs with him at the time and just had a freak out, and she was on pills and all kind of shit, but they covered all that shit up because she had a like photo shoot or whatever and just snapped out and became evil Brandy. And it was like, damn. And this was gonna mess her image up, it's like, you can't do that. You was up there singing with Whitney Houston in the Cinderella story. You can't fuck your career up, Randy. So after all of these things that transpired, everybody started to flip out. They said, you know what, fuck all this. And it was like, what's going on? It was like, fuck all this. Merlin, we gonna have this movie for you. It's coming out. The Tupac movie, it's gonna take a while for that shit to hit. So you can film another movie before that drop. And it's gonna be a monster. And he's like, you might need to lead a Steve Harvey show for this. Because it's gonna be huge. So he was like, what the fuck? Lead the Steve Harvey show? Hell no. Everybody know me as Romeo. They was like, man, look, I'm telling you, you're going to want to lead them fucking movies for this shit. And dude, Steve was like, nah, dog, I can't lead the Steve Harvey show. I'm Romeo, man. What's the show age shit? No, I can't do that. Because then it'll be fucked up when I come back. The Steve Harvey show ended. Man, I can't. What year did it end? Because I don't think they even knew it ended. Like, it kind of went off and they didn't know if it was going to be the last episode or the last season. Everything changed. Everything changed on the show. So they were gonna do a spinoff. That's what they was talking in first. We're gonna do a spinoff. But Steve was gonna go to Hollywood. Steve was like, "Fuck this, I'm not doing that." And then it was the person that was doing the movie. Oh yeah, the person that was doing the movie was let me see who was doing the fucking movie first. John Singleton was talking about doing the movie, but he ended up doing Baby Boy, and that was the movie that Merlin Santana was supposed to be in. He was talking about Baby Boy. And remember what I just said? They were saying, "Be ready. We got a movie coming. This is the movie for you. You gonna love it. Like this gonna work out for you." Baby Boy movie. That came out in like 2001. And he was so pissed off and heartbroken. It just led him to do more drugs. Because his boy's in the movie. You know what I'm saying? And Merlin didn't get the lead part. That was the movie. That movie with John Singleton, that was supposed to be, he said, "Oh, I wrote this for Tupac." Merlin Santana was supposed to play that role in Baby Boy. And the person that auditioned, because John Singleton was looking at Merlin Santana the whole time to play Jody. He was the perfect Jody. But Merlin had, his reputation and went crazy. He started, they was like, "We can't trust him. I don't know if I could trust Merlin with this kind of role." And here he is, you're trusting Tyrese to do this movie. And he was like, "Tyrese gonna be my project. Like I'm gonna get him coached up. Like he gonna be a great actor. Like he's got the potential to get there. He's immature, but I can get Tyrese there." And Omar Gooden, his boys, they was all there. Then they kind of fell out with Omar Gooden, and how he was. Well, Merlin was a little bit different than what a lot of people thought. He was nice, he was kind, but he started to descend, and he started to go broke. And towards the end of his life, this was how he was. He was used to mess around with Superhead. He was banging that chick, and while he was like doing his last season or whatever, Steve Harvey show, he was, tricking on her and doing all this. And next thing you know, he was like, "Oh, you ain't feeling me no more because I'm not on Steve Harvey show. Now you just treat me like whatever. Don't worry, I'm gonna come back. I'm coming out to do something big. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna do this movie with John Singleton." And it was Baby Boy. And this is what really drew a wedge between Omar Gooding, because it was like, oh, you did the movie with John Singleton, and that was supposed to be me and you. And you did the movie with Tyrese. You got hired, and the girl that's in the movie is your real life girlfriend. She hired, you hired, and this kind of put a wedge in y'all relationship. Omar Gooden has just always been crazy. Like, he's been misunderstood. Like, I've been knowing of him, not knowing him, but knowing of him since Wild and Crazy Kids. You know, they used to have Wild and Crazy Kids, Saved by the Bell. You know what I'm saying? So we used to see him host that show. And to see him do something like Baby Boy, to play the role he did, I was like, oh man, dude got some acting chops. But it wasn't far off from his real persona. Like, he hung out with dangerous people, and he has a temper where he would snap and go off and won't be calm. And unfortunately, it made a lot of people not want to work with him either. He got into fights in places, and producers, they find out everything. They find out everything. I mean, I don't know how, but these producers, they come along and they find out everything. Now, everybody was saying that people are connected. No, I just got this text message. So the fact of him being in the movie, that was going to explain everything, right? Because after they was doing this, John Singleton talking about he doing the Tupac movie, but you could tell how long this movie been in the works. They had moved this movie around from different people directing it. Hype Williams was going to direct the movie, and it was like, how he finna do Tupac movie? They was like, no. It was like, he did, Hype Williams did California Love, he's going to do the Tupac movie. So, John Singleton was like, no, this is going to be a bigger budget. We're going to get more money. It's not going to be low budget like Belly was. You can't do that with Tupac. He's iconic. So we got to get more money. So all these people kept trying to get more money, and it took so many years for them to put it out, and when they did, it was ridiculous because it was like a money grab. But Merlin Santana was who was supposed to play the role at that time. They was talking about doing this in the early 2000s. That's how important the film was to get done. Now, everything goes left when they turn around and find out Merlin Santana is involved in this whole thing with these drugs. These dudes robbed him. It was supposed to be these weed and pills. Then Merlin owed this dude some money. He got in a fight with one of those dudes that was with Fredro Starr in the club. They throwing bottles at each other in the club. Crazy. Crazy. Living 100 miles an hour. Brandon and Merlin Santana beat up a dude who was going to get something at the fucking store or whatever, and the dude, they went in his house, took his prescription pills, beat him down. The guy who was getting him the steroids, and they beat him up and took the shit. And it was really fucked up. It was some fucked up times. Like, it was a lot of times, like, a lot of the shit, like, they say he didn't deserve that shit. A lot of stuff you do come back. You know, he slept with this 15-year-old girl. Then she set him up, coming to the house like she wanted to get up with him. And then these niggas came in and did him dirty and all this shit. And it just went left. And he was there with Brandon, getting high. And they was finna get down with this chick. And this chick is 15. Like, she's 15, 16 years old. You know, like, it's like, are you kidding? Like, you didn't know that chick? She was like, she lied about her age. I'm like, nothing about that girl. Says, like, really? You're Merlin Santana, and the chick that you laying down with looks like just a nasty hood rat. You know, it's like, you crazy? But he fucked her because she recognized him. And he was down on his luck. He was broke down there, and, you know, he's waiting for another break, get another little mini role. Hopefully he get another audition. But a lot of people in the industry wasn't fucking with him. Steve Harvey tried to talk to him and save him, but they was like, no, nobody would touch him. And it was like, who's going to insure somebody like Merlin Santana? He's too much of a live wire. He wouldn't listen to nobody. He was pretty much all fucking headstrong and gone. He became the persona of Tupac. Not really Tupac Shakur, but his persona. You became that. Once you did that, you was fucked. You played yourself. So, that's all I got to say about that. And that's that, man. So, once again, love is love. Lead with love. You can never go wrong when you lead with love. And I'm out.